right, welcome to the Back to the Splits Ends podcast, episode 2, hopefully with better audio. I'm Evan, the childhood crush you never forgot about.
Hey, I didn't come up with an intro for myself. I'm Kelly, fuck, I got nothing.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, so welcome back.
I was thinking about that intro for the last, week.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Why didn't you give me a heads up, dude? Anyway. Alright, next week you got, or 2 weeks from now, next episode, I'm coming at you with the best intro. You guys are going to be blown away.
Yeah. And I'll come...
Don't you believe in me, Evan?
I believe in you wholeheartedly. It's not that I don't trust you, it's just that I have no faith in you. No.
Oh my gosh. So, this is our friendship, you guys. It's pretty healthy, I would say.
Yeah, just a bit. So starting this episode, things are going to be a bit different in how we approach things. You might be wondering why it's called a Split Ends podcast, and it's because Kelly had this wonderful idea that we're going to roll with and hope it works out. And if it doesn't, well, I guess we'll just have to change the entire marketing approach. So basically what we're going to do is each episode we find a new terrible movie to watch, and because they're so terrible and incomprehensible even when you watch them through, we're going to make it even harder for ourselves by splitting up the movie into 2 chunks. I'd be watching, for this movie, for instance, I watched the second half of the movie, but not the first half, and Kelly watched the first half, but not the second half, and now we're going to try to make them tie together as best as we can. And we both went in, she has no context of the last half and how it ended, and I have no context from the first half, which made it really confusing for me, because I had no idea who any of the characters were. And... Yep.
I was just left with a big cliffhanger, I was just... I just wish that I had known what had happened in the second half of the movie. So Evan here is going to lay it out for me. Thank goodness. Aren't I blessed?
This week, the movie we watched was the infamous Troll 2, which I'm pretty sure was made by a Swedish filmmaker, which is why a lot of it really didn't make sense, and how some of the lines were like, that's not how people talk. Swedish, Danish, Scottish, something like that. I don't know. But yeah, so Kelly watched the first half, I watched the second half. And I have to say, I'm pretty sure you're not going to see... I am so excited to tell you what happens in the second half, because you're going to think a lot of it is just me messing around. But God, no, every single instant happened.
Oh my gosh. All right, well, let's get started then. I go first. So, here we are. We're opening up. It's like the 80s. There's this music playing. We're like in a workout video or something. And there's this dude, and his name's Peter. He's just running through the forest. He's being chased by these trolls, but they're called goblins. But the whole movie is called Troll 2, so it's a little bit confusing. One observation I made is that Peter is low-key hot.
Is he as hot as Daddy Derek?
Oh, I don't know. Daddy Derek is pretty high up there. I don't know if Peter is cool. Oh, I can't. Okay. Moving on. Don't get me distracted. Moving on. Okay. So, man, you really, just thinking about Daddy Derek now. I'm like.
Gets you all hot and bothered.
Stop. So, basically, Peter, trips somehow, and he lands on the ground, and, he wakes up and he thinks that there's this beautiful lady, and she has these really fake ass freckles. It was one of those freckle challenge videos on YouTube that have been trending lately. It was like that, but gone terribly wrong.
I'm sorry, what is this? A freckle challenge?
Yeah, it's in the makeup community, people are applying henna on their faces as freckles.
Oh, I'm surprised I haven't heard about this, because I'm so prominent in the makeup community.
I know, I'm super surprised. Don't you know the beautiful people of YouTube? All right, well, anyways, now you do. So she's got these fake ass freckles, and we come to find out that she's actually just a goblin / troll. Next thing you know, he's sweating this chlorophyll green juice. Oh yeah, he also ate some green mayonnaise, as you do.
Gross.
And then you realize, or I guess they reveal to you, that it's all just a story. And here we are, main character. There's this little boy, Josh, and his grandpa Seth is telling us the story about these trolls and Peter and the girl with the fake freckles. So yeah, anyways, then we find out, plot twist, Grandpa Seth isn't actually around. He's kind of like dead. He died like 6 months ago, which is kind of sad. And I mean, yeah, Josh's mom comes in and, Josh is just laying there on his bed, talking to nothing.
So you got at that point, you got to be thinking, wow, my kid has some real big psychological issues.
And I have to give the props to the mom. She really does seem like she cares. And she goes and talks to the dad, who is just like a weird man. His name's Michael. She goes up to him and she's like, "Who are the goblins, Michael?" Michael's like, "There's no goblins." Oh, I don't think we even know her name. It's kind of sad. Anyways, then we get introduced to the sister. I think her name's Holly. She's like working out. She's like a motherfucking beast in her room. And her boyfriend Elliot sneaks in. And we find out that she is very toxic. She won't let him have friends. And she basically says that you can't have friends unless you want to be a virgin. So
she's
like, okay,
oh my
sweet.
God, she's the worst. Elliot is honestly my favorite character of the entire movie, though.
Yes,
in the
I know.
45 minutes I saw.
Yeah, so Holly basically gives him an ultimatum, like, "Hey, you're coming with us on a family-only vacation, and my parents don't even like you, but you're coming. And if you don't come, then you and I are done, and you're a virgin." And so he's like, "Okay, bet, I'm going to show up." And he sneaks back out his window, or her window. And next day we go, we're with the family, they're going on the road trip, and Holly's super pissed because Josh didn't show up. Or sorry, no, Elliot. Josh is her brother. Elliot, her boyfriend, didn't show up like he had promised. So she's super upset, but we come to find out that Elliot actually planned like a little road trip with all of his friends. So he's trying to like make the best of both worlds and like
fucking road trip with my bros.
Yes. Which is just going to be bad news. And they have like an RV for some reason. Like I don't even know where it came from or how they borrowed it from like one of their families or something. And poor Josh, he's with his family. He's getting all scared because he sees like a hitchhiker on the side of the road, and it's pretty ominous. They're like holding up, or this guy's holding up a sign that just says "Stop them," and you're like, who are you supposed to stop? The goblins? Are you supposed to stop your family? Like, there's really no explanation behind this, but all right. So we move on, and he starts freaking out, feeling sick, and his mom's like, hey, don't worry, just sing that song you like. And then here comes Josh. He's like, oh, I don't want to sing. His mom's like, sing. He's like, okay. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. So he starts singing, row, row, row your boat. And then they all start singing it, and it's so horrible, and they're all out of tune.
Is that not how your family road trips go?
No, but usually.
You don't just start singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star with your family in the car?
Oh my gosh, I seriously missed out a big part of my childhood. Like, how did I not have that experience growing up? Oh, sad. Okay, well, anyways, so now we go on and on. Basically, we find out that they're going to this town called... What is the town called?
Nilbog?
Nilbog? Yeah, Nilbog.
Yeah.
And
fucking
the
Nilbog.
dad has some dream of being like a country family. So basically, they set up a program where they were supposed to exchange lives with like a family in a different town. So they basically go, they meet this family that they're exchanging lives with, like who they're going to live in their house, and that family's going to live in their house.
That's a thing? What?
Yeah.
I couldn't understand what the fuck was happening.
Okay, so that's why they're in Nilbog, by the way. I don't know if you knew that, Evan.
Because...
That's why they're in Nilbog.
Okay, I had no idea where they were.
Yeah.
they clearly didn't own that house, but at the same time, I didn't know why they were, like, I just thought it was just like a simple vacation, not a fucking life switch.
Like, yes, it's like that show Wife Swap.
Not like a foreign exchange program.
Swap. Yes, no, like Wife Swap on TLC, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I watch that all the time.
Yes, but like a way weirder situation.
Yeah, it's almost like a swingers party.
Yeah.
Instead of trading wives, you're trading houses.
Right, dude. Okay, so here we go. They get to the family's house in Nilbog, and the family's super weird. They're like a weird, like, alternate universe version of the family. Like, they have a teenage daughter and a young boy, just like our family. And the boy from this weird Nilbog family gives Josh, like, a soccer ball or something. And on the soccer ball in green slime is just written, "Eat before we eat you." You're like, oh shit. Like, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't, like, alert his parents or anything. It's no big deal. So they go in, and wow, this family had prepared, like, a big, nice dinner for them on the table. So they're super excited. They are about to start eating. And good old Grandpa Seth shows up and says, like, hey, Josh, you gotta stop them from eating that green slime food that they shouldn't eat anyways. Like, come on, dude. So there's this weird 30-second sequence where it's like they're frozen in time while Josh thinks of what he's gonna do to save his family and prevent them from eating the green slime food.
I'm sorry, the dead grandpa can freeze time?
Yeah. But here's the kicker.
That's not
They're
the
not
weirdest.
Actually frozen. You can see the family moving. They're just holding in place.
God damn it.
It's so cringy. Okay, so Josh decides the only way to save his family from eating this food is to pull down his pants and piss all over the food. So that's what he does.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, that's what he does.
What? Grandpa Seth, why would you tell Josh to do that?
I have no idea. So, like, they all go to bed hungry, and his dad is pissed off. He's like, I can't believe you want to piss on hospitality like that. And he starts to, like, unbuckle his pants, and Josh is in bed, and you're like, I'm scared. And Josh just says to his dad, what are you going to do to me, Daddy? And the dad is just like, he's just threatening him and telling him that he's going to piss on him if he does anything like that again. And it's just, like, so weird.
Oh, my God.
Okay, I had to, like, breathe for a second.
You piss on our food, I piss on you.
Exactly. You know, that's what happens.
Just punishment.
It's not, you don't shit on the hand that feeds you. You piss on the hand that feeds you, okay? So anyways, the night goes on. Holly gets visited by Grandpa Seth. She gets freaked out, blah, 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 blah. Here we are, next day, we're back to the boys, Elliot and the gang. And there's this kid, Arnold. And he's like, dude, like, where are the hot chicks? Like, where is everybody? So he goes outside and he sees this, like, random, like, pretty blonde girl, like, running through the forest, and she's, like, sweating the green slime, and she looks, like, in trouble, okay? So he just starts running after her, and eventually he catches up with her and tackles her. Like, she's clearly hurt and distressed, and he just straight up tackles her. And
that would not fly in today's culture.
I know. I mean, but reasonably so.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, there's, like, the goblin dudes. They show up, and Arnold is like, who the fuck are you guys? And the goblins, in their weird goblin voice, which is really, I mean, it's just, they basically just say, what do we have to do? But in goblin talk. And then they stab him. They stab Arnold.
Wow.
Somehow, I know, but somehow they get away, Arnold and this random girl, and they make it into this weird, like, castle. It's, like, super bizarre. And next thing you know, we're introduced to this witch named Credence, and she's, like, this really creepy woman that, like, has a weird fetish for eating people, you know? And she, like...
Oh, man, I've seen that on that show, Weird Fetishes.
Yes, I know, right? Like, cannibalism, it's a weird fetish, right?
I mean, you know, people are into what they're into.
Oh, moving on.
Daddy Derek lover.
Hey! We don't talk about that. So Credence, the witch, says that she's going to heal them. She tries to give them a potion, and whoa, big shocker, it's actually poison. And the random girl that we didn't even get to find out what her name was, she just dies. She just turns into mush and this green slime liquid thing, and she's like oozing all over. And then all the goblins rush out of who knows where, and they come and eat her. And poor Arnold is just watching this happen, and he's like frozen in place.
Wait, is that the point with the signature line?
Which line?
They're eating. And then they're eating her, and then they're going to eat me. Oh my God.
Yes, I wrote that down. Oh my God.
They're eating her, and then they're going to eat me. Oh my God. I low-key loved it though, and I was like, wow, I'm gonna start reacting to things like that. Like anytime anything happens, oh my God. Yes. If anyone knows about this movie, it's because of that line. That's it's like a meme. So
yes. Oh yes, I didn't even like click that. Yeah, it totally is. Oh man, so poor Arnold. We see that she's like planted him, and now he's becoming like a tree or something. So I guess Arnold's just dead. Yeah, I mean, what's she gonna do? So one of the other kids with Elliot, I think his name is Neil or something. He decides.
I'm sorry, did you just say Neil?
I think his name's Neil.
Oh, Neil, not meal with an M.
His name was
it's like, that's really subtle. That guy's definitely getting eaten later.
Louise. But he decides to run into town to go get food. And I should note that nobody's like super concerned about where their buddy Arnold is. They kind of just like, assume that he's off, like having sex with.
Oh, he's just chasing that blonde, green bleeding chick from the woods.
Well, it's like, it's whatever. So we're not too concerned, I guess. And then, gosh, what happens next? Oh, there's just so much. So he goes to the store, and he's picked up by the sheriff, Sheriff Gene Freak. Naturally, no cause of concern there. Yeah. Sheriff Freak takes him to the general store, and good old Neil, and I'm sorry, this is not his name. I'm gonna laugh really hard if it's not his name. But he goes in and he wants to buy some bacon and eggs, and we come to discover that Millbog is actually my kind of town, because the shop owner tells him that they're all vegetarians. I'm like, oh, sweet, dude. Like, I could totally live there. But here's the kicker.
That's exactly what I was fucking thinking throughout this entire film as the goblins. I was like, this is Kelly's new favorite movie.
Oh my gosh, should I become like the mayor of Millbog?
I was like, oh my God, all vegans are goblins.
Yes. I mean, if he means super powerful and just trying to do what's best for us.
They just eat green mush.
Exactly. Then yeah, we're goblins. Oh my God.
Or trolls or whatever the fuck they are.
My dude's name is Neil. I think it's Drew, actually. I'm sorry. Poor Neil. I'm just gonna call him Neil anyway.
How did you mix up Neil with Drew?
I don't know. So, oh yeah. So they're all vegetarians, and that's great. But the shop owner says that coffee is the devil's drink. So actually, I am not down to live there. And so yeah. Then basically, I don't see Neil / Drew again in my half. And my last scene is of Credence, the witch, going over to the family's house that they're staying at, and she meets the mom and the daughter, Holly, and she says that Holly is very appetizing. And when the mom's like, what the fuck? She goes, oh, sorry, I meant provocative. As if that's better. Yeah.
Hey, your daughter's real fucking sexy. I hope that's better than me wanting to eat her.
It's like who knows how old she is? She's a witch. She could be hundreds of years old. and she's calling this, assumingly maybe like 16-year-old girl provocative and like
pedophile or cannibal, you decide.
She was like checking her out. I was seriously like, this was the moment where I was like, oh, I hate this movie. Up until then, I could deal with it, but that was the final straw. I was like, no, I'm not okay with this. So yeah, that was my 47 minutes and 35 seconds. That's basically everything that happened. To recap, we learned that goblins are vegetarians and that I should move to Milgog.
Fucking.
The end.
No, I mean, how do you not take a look at Nilbog and be like, yeah, that's definitely fucking goblin spelled backwards?
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, it is revealed on my half of the movie that they figured that out, but only Josh did, because the rest of the family is just like fucking oblivious to everything.
Yes.
Ever. So yeah, that's how families work. It's just the one young boy.
How did he figure it out?
He was looking in the rearview mirror of the car, and there was a sign as he drove past, and it was in reverse. So it spelled out.
That's like, just looks in the rearview mirror of a car, fucking sees a sign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, naturally.
I can only imagine the music was probably like super dramatic at that point.
Oh my gosh, it was. I mean, let's just say the entire movie, the soundtrack just doesn't fit. It was like they just picked random songs and were like, this works, right? Yeah. I'm okay with this.
Here's some random 80s synth.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, the mood of the movie does not match to the mood of the music, or vice versa. So, yeah, there it is. That's my split end.
Okay.
You go, Evan.
All right. So, a lot of fucking shit happens in the last 45 minutes of this movie. So much shit. So much. Where I started off, I only knew Josh as Kid for the first half of my watch through.
Oh, are you serious?
Because they never said his name, so I just kept writing Kid. So Josh is riding a skateboard down a street, and he just sees an old warehouse or something, and he's like, huh, that's interesting. So he just decides to walk on in, and he sees a group of people who I thought were just like a cult at first, but it turns out they're the goblins in human disguise. And he walks upstairs so that he's over them, and he leaves a skateboard on the ground and he walks away from it. And he walks a far distance away from it. So I don't understand how this physically happened, but he leans down and he's watching their meeting, and they're talking about how meat's terrible. And the goblin leader dude with the curly fro hair, this curly fro, is just like,
what?
He's
goblin leader dude.
He's just talking about he's having a really heated speech about meats that people eat. He just keeps he's like, sausages, ham, turkey. And he's just listing them all off really angrily, all tainted.
Oh my gosh, this is me.
Yeah, he's talking about how they all are tainted with blood and stuff.
Dude, am I a goblin?
You might be. Maybe that's why you have your camera off right now, so I can't see your goblin face.
I know. I've slowly been transforming over the past 2 weeks. I didn't want you to know.
Hey, Evan, I'm sick. Definitely not a goblin.
I am no goblin. There's no goblins. We eat meat all day.
Yeah. So Josh leans forward, looking through this hole in the floor, and apparently shifts the entire floor, making a skateboard roll through a hole in the ceiling and fall into the meeting, and the goblins all go crazy. And yeah, and then the goblin leader's hand just shoots through the ceiling and grabs Josh's face, and Josh is screaming.
Oh my God.
And while the kid is screaming, it just cuts while he's screaming, and it is the most jarring cut in the world. Because it's just ah! And then it's just who I later learned was his sister, just walking through the woods.
Yep,
and
good old Holly.
Yeah, I don't think they ever say her name in the second half.
Oh my gosh.
But she walks up to the boys' RV. And she's knocking on the door, and Elliot walks out buttoning up his shirt. So I can only imagine what he was doing with his bro. And
you know what? I support that.
Bromance, you know?
I mean, let's be real. Holly is a very toxic girlfriend.
Yeah, well, what she does next is even worse because he comes out and he's like, "What's up?" And she says he has to decide between her and his friends, and he goes, "I don't understand." So she fucking punches him in the face.
Oh my god. She should die.
She just sends a fist flying into his face and he falls on the ground, and he is the worst actor in this movie, and I love it. I am all for it because it is so ridiculous. So after she punches him, it cuts back to Josh being held hostage now, and he's like tied to a chair, and one of the goblin ladies is like, "This is a wonderful cup of Nilbog ice cream for the child," and they have like sour cream in a bowl or something.
Ew.
And the camera,
not green mayonnaise. Yeah. Are you sure?
No, it was white.
Oh.
And
mayonnaise is white.
And that's valid. And then it cuts from him to the group of like people all looking at him, and now they're suddenly all the goblins or whatever, and they're all just like gathered around this bowl of mayonnaise, all looking at him, and then it cuts back to him, and he's screaming for his grandpa, and then it cuts back to them, and they're suddenly humans again, then it cuts back to him, and it cuts back to them, and they're goblins again.
Oh shit, dude!
And they're trying to force him to eat it when his dad, who just happens to walk by, like the warehouse, like hears the screaming, and he like charges in like a fucking hero. And they let him.
Okay, Michael, I see you.
They let Josh go, and it's just this fucking huge group of people in this warehouse basement, and the dad doesn't seem to see anything wrong with it. And
okay.
Josh screams out, "Daddy, they're goblins, monstrous beings." And he goes, "I mean, look at them. They all have a mole in the shape of a 4-leaf clover, and a nilbog is goblin spelled backwards." And the dad just kind of like, whatever, and just like walks out with the kid. And so they're driving back to, I guess, their switch home. And they see this.
I was gonna say the Airbnb.
Yeah, whatever. And they see the sister and Elliot arguing as they drive past the RV. So they stop by and pick up Elliot and the sister Holly. And Elliot leaves his friend behind, who's like, "What about the babes, though?"
Dude.
And
classic.
yeah. And then we cut to who I'm guessing is Drew. Neil. Yeah. And he staggers into an old house, which I'm guessing is the witch's house, and he's staggering. His staggering is so fucking fake. He just like stops, and then he kind of just like moves to the side, and he stops, and then he just kind of moves to the side.
Honestly, I like Drew. I feel bad for him.
With his bandana, his yellow shirt.
Yeah. Like, he's low-key, like, I feel bad.
You know what?
Seemed like a nice kid.
I don't even know what fucking happened to him, to be honest. Oh, so behind him,
all I care about.
So he walks into the house, and behind him in the house is some other kid who I found out is Arnold, who's a tree person now.
Yeah. A tree. Yeah.
Yeah, with bark covering his face, and he's groaning super fucking loud. He's like, but fucking Drew can't seem to hear him. Drew's just like leaning against a wall, super tired, and then finally he notices him and pulls the bark off Arnold's mouth so Arnold can talk. And
yeah.
Arnold's like, "Get me out of here. Just push my pot," because his legs are melded into like a pot, just like pot of soil.
You know what? If you are a plant person, you should just give up. Like, what's the point of trying to be rescued? Like, well, what's going to happen? You're going to just be a plant for the rest of your life? Like,
exactly. He's literally just a plant at this. He looks like a kid. He just has like bark skin and stuff, and his legs go into a pot meant for a plant. And so Drew starts pushing the pot. And Arnold's just standing there all straight and stiff.
Oh, like plants do.
Yeah. It's just really funny watching him push this kid who's just standing in a pot. And then the witch lady suddenly appears and smacks Drew, and he flies so far. He flies super far and lands in a bed and just goes unconscious. And
Lands in a bed, though. Okay.
and then the witch lady says Arnold needs to be punished for talking to Drew and trying to escape. And so she just pulls out a fucking chainsaw. And she's like, don't worry, this is not going to hurt you. It's just going to tickle. And then she fucking chainsaws Arnold. And he just starts laughing like it actually tickles.
Oh my!
And then it cuts.
What does she cut off?
She it cuts away. It doesn't show where she's cutting.
Oh, okay.
But he's just laughing. It's like his legs or something. I don't know. And so cut to Drew waking up in the bed, and he looks over, and there's a blender full of green stuff. And so I'm like, okay, Arnold was turned into that. But then you never fucking see Drew again.
What? Seriously?
Yeah.
No.
So I don't.
That's all I care about.
Yeah. So clearly she fed him the green stuff, or I have no idea what the hell happened to that dude. And so Elliot and gang, because let's be honest, Elliot's the star of this show. And
well, who's left? Let's take which characters are still around?
So there's Elliot, there's the dad, there's the mom, there's the sister, and there's Josh. And then there's the friend that's just left alone in the RV.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Elliot and the family arrive at their house, and there's just a fucking party going on with all the goblin people. But they look like humans. They're all just dancing and in circles and playing music and stuff. And the mom's like,
at their house.
Look, yeah, at their house. And the mom's like, look, they just came over and they threw us a great party. It's like, and the dad's like, hey, that's great. Sure, this was the group that was holding my kid hostage, but who cares? And
literally, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And the crazy goblin leaders going, dance, my children, dance and eat. And fucking Josh, the only smart one in this entire fucking movie, is freaking the fuck out. Yeah. And his dad sends him to his room in timeout because he's like, my kid's a fucking nutball. And so Josh he runs to his mirror and he starts calling for his grandpa. The goblin starts serving green food and blue drinks. And then while Josh is upstairs, just looking into the mirror, a goblin just flies through the mirror, just flies at him. And then he's like, the goblin's all over him. And then suddenly Grandpa appears with an axe, cuts the goblin's hands off, and it flies back through the mirror, which the mirror then fixes itself. And then it lands in the witch's hut or whatever it is. And then the witch stands up, who was apparently the goblin. And she's holding up her fucking stump of a hand and screaming. And then Grandpa looks at Josh and he goes, you must move quickly to put out the fire. And Josh goes, what fire? Then Grandpa pulls out a Molotov cocktail and goes, guess. He just pulls out a fucking Molotov cocktail and it's like, here, Josh, fucking have this Molotov cocktail. You're going to go start a fire now, okay?
Oh, my.
So the witch is still screaming, sticks her hand into some glowing smoke and regrows her hand, nail polish and everything.
Damn.
And then she goes fucking apeshit. Then back in the house, Josh now has the Molotov. Grandpa has an extinguisher. The goblin people are just still in their human form, just gathered around the family, who's all sitting in chairs, kind of looking around awkwardly as these goblins are just clapping their hands and dancing. And so Josh and Grandpa are outside and they're looking into the window. And just when they're about to light the bottle, the goblin leader appears and takes the bottle away. And he tells Grandpa to go back to his kingdom of shadows. And then the goblin leader goes all exorcist. He starts saying a prayer and then says, orders Grandpa back to hell. And Josh goes, wait, Grandpa, are you really in hell? And Grandpa's like, no.
Oh my gosh.
And
Grandpa was in hell the whole time?
I guess so. And as Grandpa Seth is withering away, he summons lightning from the sky, which zaps the leader. And then the grandpa disappears, and then the leader's on fire, and you could clearly see his fire retardant suit and gloves. Like, they made no attempt to hide it. And finally, the family rushes out, which it took fucking long enough. There was just some dude burning outside. And when they get there, or the corpse, after the smoke disappears, it reveals the corpse is actually a goblin. And everyone's all like, what the fuck? And then the goblins get all angry, and the synth music kicks in as the family starts slowly backing away, and then book it into the house. The witch is still going ape shit and does a ritual which makes the sun go down for some reason, and then she suddenly looks super normal and fucking hot. Like,
she does?
Yeah. She looks like a normal woman. No more terrible special effects makeup. And all the goblins are remaining outside, like circling the house, and the sheriff holds up a fast food bag and says there's sandwiches inside that he wants the humans to eat, and he throws the bag at the house. And then another goblin says he doesn't want blood to mix with the meat because they'd have to soak it in vinegar all night. And I was like, that's a weird line. And of course, the humans, as stupid as they are fucking like have their faces pressed up against the windows. And Josh wishes his grandpa was there, but Holly, his sister, recommends a seance, and he's like, that's a brilliant idea.
Naturally.
So back at the RV, the kid who's by himself is watching TV, and it cuts to live footage of the sexified witch just like sauntering and dancing down the trail towards the RV. And she's holding a corn cob and asks if he wants to share it with her. And so he goes out to see if she's real, and he invites her into the RV after he finds her. And there's shit tons of like sensual foreplay before she offers up the corn cob to him, and they like stick the corn cob. They stick the corn cob between their mouths and just like start making out with like the corn cob between their mouths. and then popcorn starts flying on the screen. Just a shit ton of popcorn. It's just flying. They're just making out, and this kid sees nothing wrong with fucking popcorn coming out of nowhere.
I'm sorry, this is Elliot, right?
No, this is just one of his friends who's alone in the RV.
Oh. Oh, no.
Yeah, Elliot's with the family getting surrounded by the fucking goblins in their house.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So cut back to Josh and the family, and they're having a seance to summon Grandpa. And you could clearly you said the dad's name is Michael?
I think so, yeah.
You could clearly see on his fucking face that he thinks his kid is an idiot. His face is just like oh my God, this is what my life is now. So with a flash of lightning, a white light appears behind Josh as Grandpa speaks to them all. Good old Elliot is really confused. Grandpa says they need to destroy the goblin's magic stone. And then Josh passes out and then shoots up and is now a goblin. And then more goblins storm the house, and the humans run up the stairs. Dad Michael here does a bit of a cool cat run, where you're like pumping your arms and like can't high knees. And then a goblin falls on him, and then he like swings it around and finally knocks it off. And then I was really confused here because I don't know how a goblin ended up in Josh's seat, because Josh wakes up in the witch's hut, like super sweaty and stuff, and he decides to go exploring. And then he's attacked by a goblin, and then Grandpa shows up and beats the shit out of it. Like gives it fucking a good old 1-2, and then gives Josh a backpack and points out the stone that's the goblin's magic power. So Grandpa and Josh touch the walls of the stone because it's like a big like block of like paper mache. It's just like it's like a wall basically with some glowing smoke coming from it, and so they're just like putting their hands on it, and then cut back to the family. This is one of my favorite parts in the movie. They're surrounded by the goblins now in the living room, and Elliot's freaking out. And he looks at them. He goes, "Please, let's talk. We're all humans here." And I was like, that is the worst attempt at humor ever.
We're all humans here.
And they're all clearly, they're all fucking, they're goblin forms now, and they all just I literally wrote, please, let's talk. We're all humans here. Ha ha, so funny.
It is funny. Don't you know humor? You obviously don't have a sense of humor. Not gonna lie.
The other kid, the RV kid, wakes up in the RV completely covered with popcorn and like spits it out, and it just goes. He just like laughs and goes, no more popcorn. Meanwhile, outside, the witch sees herself in the side view mirror and is back to being old and gross. So she screams, and all the goblins hear, and they say that the queen is apparently calling them, so they all disappear from the family's house. Grandpa says his goodbyes with Josh and then fades away, saying this needs to happen. And then the witch grabs Josh. She throws him to the goblins as she laughs maniacally. A goblin gives the witch some green mush, and she plans to feed it to Josh, but he looks through the pack and excitedly, he's so happy. He pulls out his sandwich and he goes, a double-decker bologna sandwich! And the witch and goblins freak the fuck out. Because, that's how vegans and vegetarians act. Right. As soon as they see meat, they just...
freak out,
yeah.
Dude.
It's like the apocalypse is upon them. And the witch is like pleading with them, going, think about the cholesterol, think about the toxins.
Literally me.
Think about the cholesterol, think about the toxins.
Cholesterol.
And so Josh is like, fuck you, bitch. And he bites into the sandwich, and they all go crazy, and he runs to the stone. And suddenly the family bursts in, and I was like, how the fuck did they get here? How did they know where he was? But apparently Grandpa's voice guided them.
Oh.
So they all put their hands on the stone walls of the stone and concentrate hard, like they're all super sweaty and stuff. And all the goblins start like having seizures and bleeding out and freaking out, and the witch melts and stuff. So boom. And then the family disappears. And I was like, oh, they're gone. But then after a few seconds, it cuts to them driving home, and I'm guessing to their real house, because it doesn't look like the actual.
Back with the family.
Yeah. Well, that's what I didn't. Okay, I didn't write it down because I had no idea what it meant. They ran it. I'm guessing it was the family that they had switched with was in that warehouse that was and holding fucking
they
were in the warehouse helping
they never did the switch.
Yeah, apparently they were goblins, and they were
not be happy.
Apparently they were goblins and helping hold Josh hostage, and the dad was like, hey, why are you guys here? And they're like, we had some stuff come up.
They were still pretending like okay, it's fine, no big deal. God.
So they get home. The dad decides to drive Elliot and Holly over to Elliot's house to drop Elliot off. Meanwhile, Josh and his mom are in the house, and she's eating an apple, and she offers some apples to him, but he says he doesn't want to eat for the next 20 years. Says he wants to go take a nap instead, and the mom says she's going to go take a shower. So he looks at that. He's sitting in his room, and he's looking at his mirror, and he thanks his grandpa. But instead of hearing Grandpa Seth in return, he starts hearing a bunch of mysterious voices. And he goes to check on his mom. Huh?
Goblin noises?
Like, there were like whispers, like mysterious whispers in the air.
Oh.
Like ominous. And then, so he goes to check on his mom downstairs where she was eating an apple, but then a baseball rolls down the stairs, and written on it in green slime is, yummy, mom is so good. So he runs up to the shower, and he finds a bunch of green blood in it. And then he runs back down and finds goblins eating his mom. And and one goblin looks up and goes, do you want some, Josh? And Josh does like a Home Alone scream, and then it freeze frames on his face, and it cuts to credits.
And then it's just the end.
Yeah.
Okay, so who survives throughout the movie? Josh, Michael, the dad, right?
Yeah, Holly, Elliot. And then the kid who was covered with popcorn.
The popcorn.
As far as I know, that's all.
That was literally popcorn cum, right?
Yeah, I guess. Well, what was the line? He says, I really like popcorn. And she's like, the witch is like, well, if you want popcorn, we're going to need to make some heat. And that's when they started making out with the corn cob between their mouths, and then popcorn just started popping out off screen.
I have to look up photos of that scene. Oh my god.
So much fucking shit. Like, okay, I want to understand the rules of this universe, because clearly Grandpa's dead, but he has the ability to freeze time,
I know.
give Josh Molotov cocktails, summon lightning. Like,
he can literally do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I know.
It's so powerful.
And the goblins are just like really aggressive vegans.
Yeah.
It was definitely more of a movie than Cool Cat, because it wasn't shot with like a handy cam in your neighborhood.
Right.
It actually had, I don't know if you could call it production value, but it had something. And
yeah, I will say it was a little bit easier for me to watch than Cool Cat, because it wasn't quite as stressful.
No.
Like, I didn't have a freaking anxiety attack watching this movie.
It was just so strange and different and weird. It was very entertaining, to say the least.
Yeah. No, I was entertained. Like, I was not necessarily entertained during Cool Cat. It was just too much.
Yeah. It was just subdued, showing off. This had a story, I guess.
Yeah.
It had more of a structure, a movie structure.
So what I really want to know is, what happened to Troll 1? The first Troll, is it the same character?
No, I don't believe so. Let me check.
Apartment for rent, inquire within. That's the tagline.
Yeah, wicked troll king in search of a mystical ring that will transform him to human form invades a San Francisco apartment complex where a powerful witch lives.
Oh, okay. Well, sounds decent, right?
It has really bad reviews.
I am confused about how the goblins looked. And okay, again, why are they called goblins if the movie is called Troll?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, why call it Troll 2 then? Because it's clearly about goblins, not trolls, which, I mean, I wouldn't have known the difference if you had just called them trolls. Like,
right, exactly. Well, I think the Milgog thing, they would have had to call the movie, or sorry, the city, Lort.
Lord.
Lord. And my other question is, are these goblins children in their little, like, pillow stuffed costumes, or are they grown adults? What do you think? What are your bets?
I don't know. I have no idea. They were short, so...
They were short. I assume they're children, and they're just running around as goblins.
And then they, did audio recording humans for the voices later or something.
Yes.
It was... Okay, like, you like Daddy Derek and Cool Cat? I fucking I love the witch when she became all normal looking.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But, okay,
it's like, she's kind of hot. Even with that, she just, like, had a corn cob, like, slid into her dress the entire time. And I was like,
ew, what? I really wish I had, like, been able to see this popcorn sex scene. So, but does she look noticeably older than the kid? Because, I mean, they're supposed to be in high school.
That's true. She seems like she's in her, like, early to mid-30s.
Gross! That is so foul.
And he's super into it. He can't even talk. She's, like, stroking his chest, and she, like, puts her fingers in his mouth.
Oh, you're kidding me.
And he's like, yes. And I was like, if I were this kid, I'd be really confused as to how she hacked into my fucking TV. And... how she was making why she was carrying a corn cob, why she was making popcorn appear out of fucking nowhere. But you never see that kid again either. So
yeah, So just that one kid turned into a fruit smoothie or whatever, but everybody else just like escaped out okay. And I'm actually surprised that they decided to kill the mom. I actually thought that last scene, like as a surprise or big shock, they would have killed maybe the sister or something.
Yeah, that sister was a bitch.
She deserved to die.
She just punches fucking Elliot in his derpy face.
Wait, did they end up together? Like,
well, he was like at the end when they're driving home and they're sitting in the van. Elliot's like, I think I need to go home for a while, and then Holly's like, I'll come with you. So I guess so. I don't know.
No, you're kidding me. She punched him, and also their friend died.
More of all their friends apparently, because you never see them again.
Jeez, you're right.
I'm guessing Drew, after he woke up and saw the blender full of green stuff, she made him drink it, and then he turned into green mush or something.
That is seriously psychopathic. Making your captive drink their friend.
Yeah. Oh god, I never even thought about that.
It's messed up.
Oh. That witch lady though was the most over-the-top actress I've ever seen in my entire life.
No.
Her maniacal laughing, her huge eyes.
Yes, she was so bizarre. Like, she did this eye thing where like the camera would pan out really quick and she'd just open her eyes up like really
super
big.
wide. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, it was like when you're in a play when you're in 4th grade. That's what it was like. That's how you act.
Jesus.
Very over the top.
Oh my god. This movie was so insanely terrible, but also fun to watch.
I agree.
The editing was so bad, it would just cut from scene to scene, and it would be like the worst edits ever. Cinematography was bad. You could like see the guy like shaking as he like tried to swing the camera around. Yeah, so we'll probably have a scale at some point to rate these movies, but this so far, and the 2 movies we watched, I definitely like this better than Cool Cat Saves the Kids.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Way more enjoyable. I actually felt like I could root for the characters because they had personalities.
Even if they were horribly acted personalities.
Yeah. But that's not the point here. At least they were people.
Yeah.
Cool Cat, they were just shells of human beings. They were not real. It was not real.
What's the lesson you take away from Troll 2?
The lesson is that we should all become vegan and eat our friends.
Yeah. Which is, if you think about it, is not really veganism.
It is if it's consensual. And if you turn into a plant, do you really have consent?
The kid could talk, and he's like, get me out of here. So
You're right.
Instead, a witch fucking took a chainsaw to him and then made him
Is this what people mean when they make fun of vegans for eating plants, saying that plants have feelings too?
They do. Hey, scientists have discovered that plants know when they're being eaten, okay?
Oh, jeez. I get it now.
And if you think about it...
I guess I won't eat plants anymore.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, you're eating the plants, which is the food of the animals you're trying to save, which means you're taking the food away from the animals, killing them anyways.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Some of these stupidest arguments.
So that's what I learned from Troll 2, personally.
I learned that if you try to have sex with a corn cob, you'll make popcorn. I also learned that the deceased grandparents can control all of reality.
Oh, that would be so great. I mean, maybe not. My grandfather was... Actually, no, I would be happy with it. He was like a vegan hippie. I'm like, yeah, okay, I could let him control everything for a little bit. That'd be okay. So, I have to say, though, that popcorn sex scene maybe it opens up a realm of role-playing opportunities.
Yeah,
Am I right?
it's true. Yeah, I never thought of sticking a corn cob between two mouths.
You gotta try it till you not, or don't knock it till you try it.
And honestly, the best pickup line ever, just, hey, yeah, I like popcorn. Well, in order to make popcorn, we're going to need a little heat.
Truth.
And then she just, like, throws him onto a bed and, like, straddles him.
You want to make some popcorn with my corn?
Ew.
What's wrong with that?
Ew. My mind instantly went to, like, corn bunions on, like, your foot.
Ew. Okay, I'm done with this. We're moving on. I just wanted to say, completely different subject. Yep, that was Troll 2. Give it a try, you guys. But, I mean, I guess you don't have to now that we just explained the entire movie to you.
You have to watch, especially, like, you have to be able to hear the inflection of these people's voices, especially Elliot, and be able to see his derpy fucking faces.
Oh, Elliot. He's so pure. I mean, he really did try to, like, make it work and, like, have his friends and his girlfriend, which makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, totally different note here, sidetrack. I've been watching The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and I just love it. It's so good. I'm having such a good time watching it. I'm going to be done in, like, 3 days.
Oh.
Have you seen it?
I've seen a couple episodes because I was, like, eating while my roommates were watching it.
So good, Evan. It's seriously so good.
What have I been...
Highly recommend.
Let's see, what have I been watching? In terms of new shows, I haven't really been watching... I've been watching a lot of new movies, but not a lot of new shows. I want to start that Umbrella Academy because everyone's talking about that.
Which show?
The Umbrella Academy?
Oh, yeah, I know. I haven't seen that yet, but, yeah, I heard it's good.
Well, maybe when I get time. Instead, I'm recording this fucking podcast.
Oh my gosh. Hey, you don't want to do this.
Watching Troll 2.
Jeez, okay.
Okay, everyone.
I know how you really feel.
Yeah. I love it. I love this podcast already because I get to just talk about, I mean, shitty movies, but movies regardless with mi mejor amiga, Kelly Aiken.
Aw. Oh, that's me.
A.K.A. Ike.
Ike is the word.
And I get to feel like I'm doing something with my life.
I know, truth. It gives me purpose.
And hopefully this episode will be a lot easier to listen to, and I won't sound like I'm talking over the phone, through a speaker, through... yeah.
We all hope that.
And, you know, yeah. I love her audience of however many we have right now. And hopefully we'll grow, but I'm just glad some people are actually listening to us.
Yeah. Look at us go. I'm proud of us.
I was told we're clearly enjoying it and have great chemistry despite the audio issues.
Aw, that's sweet.
So that's always nice to hear. And hopefully that carried over to this episode. And yeah.
That's it. That's all. We're going to sign off.
Yeah. So until next time, moviegoers, shitty movie lovers, lovers of shittiness in general, I'm Evan.
This is Kelly.
And hope you have a great day.
Bye.
Bye. We really do.